Okay, y'all, you know what time it is. Okay, this is my favorite season. Nothing makes me happier than saying goodbye to summer. Getting her ass up out of here, bringing on the crunchy leaves, the warm drinks, the pumpkins, just the spooky books. Every year I get more and more excited, and this year on my Patreon we're doing a bingo for the month of September. So I've been doing a lot of the prompts on my bingo card, so if you want to join us for the bingo for September, check out my Patreon. But it's just putting me in such a great mood for fall. Let me start my video properly. Hello booktubing world, it is I, Capri Nicole, and I am back with another video. So if you don't know, I always focus on Black authors. I always focus on promoting and supporting Black books because they don't get the same opportunities, the same exposure, the same money. Just you know how it is. You know how it is. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta support my folks. You know what I'm saying? One year I had a blackout year where I only read books by Black authors. So I'm very serious about my business. You know what I'm saying? I do my research. And when I was giggling and kicking my feet and super excited for the fall season, I went on TikTok and I was looking for fall book recommendations. I didn't put black. You know, it's kind of exhausting have to put black in front of something in order to get recommended something that should be inclusive. But nevertheless, I put in fall book recommendations, and baby, it was the same 3 books they recommend every damn year. I'm so tired of seeing that pumpkin spice with the cafe, whatever, the mystery book that just give off fall vibes. And what else is it? The Society of Regular Witches, and you know what I'm saying, a lot of the books, honestly, none of them included Black books at all to begin with. So that pissed me off. I crashed out a little bit, and then I just started vigorously, let me show you because I still have it in my notes, like when it happened. I started vigorously writing down all, do you see this? I'm not playing. I started vigorously writing down all of the spooky books that I could recommend that were written by Black authors. Hold on, where's the other page? It's one more page. Look at this, I was like 1 2 3 4. Yeah, I crashed out and I just started writing down, I started writing down, here it is, all of the books. And some of these pages I split in half. Like you can see where I split it in half. I wrote some over here, I wrote some over here, and I was like writing down every book. I was writing in the top, I was writing over here on the side, like every Black book that I could recommend for fall, because I was just like, what are we talking about? Because it's not like there aren't Black horror books, there aren't Black fall romances, there aren't Black mystery books. Y'all just be forgetting us. And not on my watch. I ended up writing 60 books. So on my TikTok, I think I've done 3 videos where I recommended a lot of books, and I figured I would put out some long form content. Since we're coming up on fall season, I wanted to, you know, bring up some books that I feel like will be great for the season, because it is my favorite season and I refuse to let my folks be counted out. And I know a lot of you guys are new here. If you're new here, welcome. I have a lot of different type of content. I used to have playlists that separated all my content. I no longer do. The only thing on my playlist now are Black booktuber recommendations, which I have 112 Black booktubers on that playlist, and it's in alphabetical order, and my Black book recommendations and my Melanin Book Magic series, which I do every Black History Month. So if you're looking for more Black booktubers, I have a playlist, and if you're looking for more Black recommendations, I also have a playlist for that. I did a poll at the end of last year asking you guys what you guys wanted more from me as far as content was concerned, and the main thing that was listed was Black book recommendations. So I have definitely been delivering that this year, and I hope you're satisfied. So in this video, I have another list. I have 20 book recommendations to read for fall that are written by Black authors, and then I have 3 honorable mentions. I think I have 3 honorable mentions. So honorable mentions usually are just like books that aren't written by Black authors or whatever, have a Black character but written by white author, whatever. Okay, so I have 3 honorable mentions. So it's gonna end up being like 23 books, you know what I'm saying? So we're gonna get straight into it. We're gonna talk about these books, and we're gonna bulk up that TBR. And don't just add them to your TBR, baby. Make sure you read that damn book. Don't just come over here, oh, I can't wait to read this book, and don't read it. I don't want to hear it. Y'all watching Gilmore Girls for the 53rd time of your life. I need you to actually read the books that you add to your TBR, especially if they're black books, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't really have these in order, so they're kind of all over the place, but they're all for fall season. So if you're a fall girl or you're looking for books for fall, then this video is for you. You are in the right place. Okay, so starting off strong, the first book that I have to recommend you guys is Beloved by Toni Morrison. And I know a lot of people are like, Toni Morrison, like how is that a fall book recommendation? But hear me out, okay? I know a lot of people struggle with Toni Morrison's writing, and I highly recommend reading her books and consuming her books through audiobooks because she narrates them herself and she knows how to deliver her work. Okay, all of the books that I've read by Toni Morrison, I think I've read 4 books by her. All of them I've read on audiobook, and I was not confused. I knew what was going on, and she knew how to read her book to you. Okay, so if you read any Toni Morrison books, I highly recommend that you listen to it on audio. Now, Beloved, I recommend for a fall book because this book is very creepy, it's very spooky, it's very horrifying. Okay, please check the trigger warnings for this book. If you are someone that's faint of heart or someone that is gonna spiral, lose their minds over like touchy subjects, then I highly recommend that you check the triggers for this book because it gets dark. Okay, but essentially it's following this main character who is a mother, and she's living in a town, but she's run away from her past, and there is a way where her past like comes back into her current life and is kind of haunting her. So she's kind of in like a haunted house. There is a haunted spirit with her, and the haunted spirit is kind of derailing her life, changing her life. And it just focuses on motherhood, it focuses on loss, it focuses on trauma, it focuses on racism, it focuses on restarting your life and generational history. Like Toni Morrison always ties in generations within one story. So I couldn't, the first book that came to mind when I started writing this book was Beloved, because I remember listening to this book and just being creeped out. Like, it was so well done, it was so spooky, it was so horrific that I really recommend it, and I recommend listening to it on audiobook. So that is the first book in this recommendation video. Okay, the next book that I have to recommend is The Poisons We Drink, and this is the perfect book for fall. This author went through a lot with her publisher, so please show her love, please support her work, and please write reviews once you do read this book, or just show her support in any way that you can. This book is following a main character who has like the ability to produce and conjure love potions. So if you're looking for something that's witchy, something that is heavily tied into family, that is different and unique in the world setting, that also kind of has some references to America today as far as politics and slight police brutality, like not too heavy where it's like gonna horrify you, but it does have small ties into politics, I highly recommend this book. I feel like she did a phenomenal job with this magic system. I believe this is her debut book, but I could not tell. Like, I could not tell. There were no holes in her story. The characters were well developed. The world was phenomenal. The magic, the love potions, just the depth and the work that she put into the magic system left me in awe. And I also love the way that it had small ties into black culture. Just some of the words that were used for like specific spells. Like, she had a spell called the make do spell, and that's just something that black people say a lot when it's like, oh, I just gotta make do, I gotta do what I gotta do to make it work, you know what I'm saying? Just like small ties in the magic system that were references to black culture. I really love this. If you're someone that enjoys books that tie family in here as well, I definitely recommend it. There is also like a mystery to it as well. There's a lot of reveals. If you're looking for your neck to snap from the amount of plot twist, then this is definitely the book for you. I read this with my book club and we had a great time reading this book. We had so much fun, and I preferred reading it physically because I wasn't enjoying the audiobook. I had a great time reading this. Look at this, look at these edges. Ah, It was just so beautiful. I absolutely loved it, and I definitely recommend you read this for the fall season, especially if you love witchy vibes. Okay, the next book that I have to recommend, you're probably gonna see this author on here a few times because she is just one of the queens of spooky vibes, and it is Alexis Henderson. And this book is called The Academy for Liars. So all my dark academic girlies that love the dark academic aesthetic, this book is for you. It comes out, I believe it comes out this month, and this author is vetted. Like, all of her books hold weight. All of her books give you that feel. It puts you in the setting of the book. And this one is focused on the main character. Her name is Lennon, and she gets this mysterious call to start going to school at this prestigious magical school. So if you're someone that loves magical school settings, and this is definitely the book for you. I didn't read too much into the synopsis because I do want to go into it blind. I want to enjoy it firsthand, so that is just the basis of what this book is about. But if it's something that piques your interest, then I highly recommend you check it out because I've read a few other books by her and they have all been great. The next book that I have to recommend is Mortal Dark, and one of my lovely patrons sent it to me. Thank you, Nessa. I really appreciate it. Look at these edges, y'all. Oh, and look at the inside, baby. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So let's get into it. I highly recommend you do not read the synopsis, because I kind of did, but within the first sentence they just spoil a huge thing in the book. So if you have not read the synopsis for this book yet, I highly recommend you do not. I think it'll be more fun, more interesting, more intriguing if you don't know much going into this book, and they spoil it immediately. So I will say this book is basically following the main character, who is in somewhat of a fantasy romance between her and a vampire that she don't need to be with, okay? She don't need to be paying this man no mind. Like, they don't need to be nowhere near each other. But this book is also set in a very dark academia school. So if you like vampires, if you like mysterious settings, if you like enemies to lovers, forbidden love, fantasy romance, vampire vibes, but make it black, then this is the book for you, okay? And again, do not read the synopsis. If you have not read the synopsis yet, don't. Just let the cover allure you, and let those small hit words that I've given you be all that you need to know, okay? The next book that I have to recommend is Model House, and this one is following 3 siblings who grew up in a town where they were the only black family, and now they become adults, and as they look back on their childhood, they start realizing that that house was very much hunted, okay? They barely made it out alive. They just were just like, thank God we are now grown and we can get the hell on. Something happens where they end up having to go back to that house, and new things unravel, new horrors lie. And this book is written by River Solomon, and I've read, I think, 1 book by them, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm interested to see their play on the horror genre. I think they do a really good job talking about racism and generational and historical ties without making it too on the head. You know what I'm saying? Like, they know how to deliver that perfectly so that you can understand the point of the book. And I'm interested to see their play on the horror genre. I've heard good things about this book. I've seen it mentioned a lot on TikTok, and I've seen a few people on BookTube read it as well. So I definitely think you should check it out if you're a horror or haunted house girly. The next book that I have to recommend is House of Hunger, and I'm pretty sure everybody knows what this book is about, but if you don't, because I know we have a lot of new islanders, we have a lot of new booktubers, we have a lot of new people within the book community, so maybe you missed this one. But if you did, I'm here to tell you, again, this is Alexis Henderson. She is vetted. She knows how to deliver. And this book is basically following the main character who is living in poverty, and she basically wants to restart her life. So she gets this opportunity to go to this other city where she will be providing blood for someone who is ill. So it's kind of like vampire, it is heavy like vampire vibes, but not really, because the woman that she's providing blood for is not no damn vampire, okay? Which makes it a little bit even more insane and bewildering and crazy as hell to be giving blood to someone who isn't a vampire. It's like, girl, what is wrong with you? Like, and you gonna see what's wrong. Like, this book was so just haunting, and I think I read it last year, and it was my 100th book, so I did like a whole vlog on it. I had such a good time reading this book. It just was so spooky. It is a little bit slow. I think when I got to like the 80-page mark, just under 100, was when the spooky atmosphere the creepy vibe started really settling in. The unsettling like setting started setting in. So do give it time. You know, if you're someone that is quick to DNF a book, don't be quick with this one. Just give it time, because it gets really, really good. Again, I think it was around the 85-page mark that I really started enjoying my time with this one. So definitely check this one out if you're into like haunted house vibes, like creepy creepy characters, and just like a mystery that is slowly unraveled and it ends up being something that you do not expect. I highly recommend, highly recommend this one. Also, body horror. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. Check her out. Okay, another the final Alexis Henderson book that I have to recommend is The Year of the Witching. This was the first book that I read by her, and when I tell you I never read a book so fast in my life. I have a few tabs on here and they don't even match the vibe. Y'all don't even, like, they're literally neon color tabs. But anyway, this was the first book that I read by her, and I remember reading this book and I was so engulfed. Like, the entire world around me melted away. Like, it just was so interesting. Like, I'm someone who really enjoys books that focus on cults and witchy vibes, so it's like to have both of them in one book, and you deliver on the setting and just the uncertainty of like what the hell is going on around you. If you want the world to melt away and you want to forget that you are even a person on this world, I highly recommend this one. I enjoy reading books like this, like in the dark with my little book light, just under the covers, just really set the scene and just really have a good time. I highly recommend that you check this one out. If you're someone that's into cults, this is basically following the main character who is coming into she's a part of like a very culty environment, and there's a lot of things going on around her that she's not comfortable with, and she's just trying to get the hell on. But as she does, she finds out more things about her mother and more things about her mother's past, her ties to the forest and things like that, and it just gets so haunting. So I definitely recommend this one if you're a cult girl, especially if you're a cult girl. So this one is definitely for you. And like I said, Alexis Henderson always delivers with her settings and the world and the characters. So definitely check this one out this spooky season. The next book that I have to recommend is No One's Going to Take Her Soul, and this one is following the main character. Her name is Saphria, and she recently died, and now she is in this world called the Pandemonia, and it's basically like the afterlife, and there's a goddess there that rules the entire world essentially, and she's determined to find this goddess and tell her, I'm not supposed to be here, like send me back to the veil so that I can go back to my life and I can track down the person responsible for my death. Like, she is heavy set on, I ain't supposed to be here, okay? So this whole book is her basically trying to track down this goddess in order to get back to the veil and get back to her life so that she can get to the person that she feels is responsible for her death. And I've read a book by this author, The House of Transcendence, which I also recommend, but I've talked about that book before, so I kind of wanted to bring newer books in this recommendation video. But I also recommend that one as well, so you can just add that to your TBR. And I will say this author is really good at setting the scene. Great job with like the magical settings, the spooky settings, and the history of the magical witches as well. It was nice to see like black witches in the House of Transcendence, and so I know No One's Going to Take Her Soul is going to deliver as well. I absolutely love the cover. I've had it on my TBR for a little bit, so I'm excited to check it out. And if you check it out before me, let me know how it is. Okay, the next book that I have to recommend is Thejumbees, and I recently read this one on audiobook, which I highly recommend you do, because the audiobook, it just delivers, because this book has a lot of, like, not a lot, but it has like maybe like 3 or 4 songs in it, just like small little short songs that are just more fun when you like hear them, and like you just feel the nervousness of the characters and stuff like that. So let me tell you what this book is about. This book is like a children's middle grade book, and it basically is following the main character who lives on this island with her father, and they live in a very small town. There's a lot of like spooky things that happen within their town, and there's a witch there as well, and her mother recently passed away, so it's just kind of just like her and her dad. And one day she goes to the market to sell oranges. She dresses up as her father and just like goes to like pitch these oranges to people, okay? And when she gets there, there's this mysterious lady that shows up and everybody's enthralled by her. She's so beautiful, she's like alluring, nobody knows who she is, nobody's connected to her, nobody has any tea on her, and she ends up going up to the booth of the town's witch, and the witch has been around since the oldest person in town was a child, so she is known by everyone. So when she walks straight up to her booth, everybody like, who the hell is that? And the main character shortly finds out who she is because she starts hanging out with her father. More and more weird things start happening, and she's trying to protect her dad, trying to protect her town, and everything goes awry. There's a lot of spooky monsters. I really enjoyed this one because it focuses on, I think, West Indian folklore. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it's West Indian folklore. But it's always fun to read books that aren't set in Greek mythology, and it brings forth like different types of mythology aside from Greek mythology. And a lot of the monsters in this book are from a completely different folklore. So if you're looking for something that's different, something that's short, something that's fun, then I highly recommend this one. I give it 4 stars. I had a great time reading it, and like I said, the language and the small songs that are in here really set the pace. And the monsters are just different. I just like seeing monsters that aren't like your typical normal, like witches, vampires, demons, whatever. Just different folklore. So if you're looking for something like that, that's set in like a spooky wood setting, and it's kind of like a children's book, and it's very quickly paced and a great story, then I highly recommend this one. It follows a little ragtag group of children that are trying to figure out who this woman is, and more magical things happen within the book. So highly recommend this one. Okay, the next book that I have to recommend is Camp Lanier, and this, I really don't have to say too much. Everyone knows what Camp Lanier is about, but basically this one is following the main character who ends up getting into some trouble shoplifting with her friends, and she ends up having to do community service at Camp Lanier, and she's doing community service as a camp counselor, which she doesn't feel like is too bad because she's in a higher social status, so she doesn't have to do any of like the big grunt work. But as time goes on, she starts realizing like something's not right. There's a lot of unsettling sounds that she's hearing, a lot of voices that she's hearing, and songs that she's hearing, but she's the only person that hears them. So she's just trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And then there's also supposedly some type of like serial killer that has been in the nearby woods of the camp. So there's just a lot going on in this book, but I've heard good things about it. It seems like everyone's enjoyed it. So again, if you're someone that likes spooky books that are set in a camp setting, then I highly recommend this one. The next book that I have to recommend is a novella that's set during Thanksgiving weekend, and this one was so fun. I read it a few years back. It's like a little short little romance. It's called Spin 'Bout You, and it's following the main character who is at a little like cabin with her group of friends, and she ends up being introduced to someone new that's there, and they just have like great vibes immediately. They have their little one-nighter, and he's just like, baby, one-nighter for who? Okay, because I want you, like I want you to be my girl type shit. So when they go back home, she's just like, nah, I'm trying to focus on myself, like stay away from me, like I don't want to be bothered. And he just like, no, he's like putting that pressure on. So it's just basically him like yearning and wanting to be with her. It's really cute. I really enjoyed it, and just the setting is different. If you're looking for something that's like sweet and short and set during Thanksgiving fall instead of like spooky season fall, then I highly recommend this book. The next book that I have to recommend is Rootwork, and if you're black, you know what Rootwork is, but this one is following these main characters who are on summer break, and they get sent to New Orleans to spend the summer with their magical, spooky, mysterious aunt. And that is just, it couldn't be more perfect. Like this one is set in New Orleans, which is like the grounds of just magical black society, root work, all those things. So it's set in New Orleans. It's following this like their mysterious aunt who is a witch, and she's just teaching them all the basics, like all the basic magic and stuff like that, until something goes wrong, something happens, and I stopped reading right there. I didn't want to know too much in the synopsis because I do plan on reading this soon. So if you're looking for something that's set in a different atmosphere, that follows different types of magic system, then I highly recommend Rootwork. I've heard great things about it, and I love the cover. If the cover doesn't unsettle you a little bit, then I don't know what will. The next book that I have to recommend is All These Sunken Souls, and this book is like a bind up of different stories. So if you don't know what you're in the mood for, you want to taste all the flavors genres. You want spooky, you want romance, you want slasher, you want all the fall vibes, like every single flavor, then anthologies are the way to go, baby. And honestly, there's a lot of spooky anthologies, so if you want to explore, then I highly recommend checking this book out. It follows a selection of short stories, all by Black authors, and I'm not sure if they're all horror or some of them are horror, but what better way to find out than to read the book, okay? And I absolutely love the cover. Like, it's just I'm really excited to check this one out, and I hope that you do too. The next book that I have to recommend is Do What Godmother Says, and this one is following the main character who is newly single and trying to find herself again. And as she's staying with her aunt, she ends up coming across this painting that is just like known for being like a haunting painting, and as she looks at it more and more, she gets more freaked out and she just wants to know more about the painting. And so she starts doing like her research on the actual artist of it and the muse of the painting, and the more that she finds out, the spookier it gets. So this one seems really interesting. If you're someone that's into art and spooky art, or art that has a history behind it, something that's a haunted painting, then I highly recommend this one. I love the cover on this, and I'm excited to read it because it seems different from the other books that I've put on this list, so definitely check this one out. The next book that I have to recommend is Blood at the Root, and I really enjoyed this one. I love the cover, like a black boy on the cover with just the blue background, the blue setting. It's just so beautiful. So this one is following the main character who comes from like a little bit of a rough upbringing, and he's now kind of on his own, but he's going to college, and he's going to a magical college. So if you're, again, someone that's into magical schools and college settings, then this is definitely the book for you. He has a new group of friends, and he's just finding out more and more of how to use his magic properly. So he's finding out the history of his magic, he's finding out the history of other generations, and he's also someone who's very emotionally disturbed. He has a lot of trauma that ties into his past, and he doesn't trust anyone. Although he's staying with his immediate family, he still doesn't feel comfortable with them because he doesn't really know them like that, and just from his past, he's just someone that doesn't trust easily. So he's struggling a lot as a character, but the book is really well done. I really enjoyed the magic system. I love the ending. Like, this book I gave 3.5 stars. My only issue with this book was the pop culture references, but if you just glide past that, the rest of the book is really interesting. If you're someone that enjoys following a very troubled character and just seeing them hopefully grow and become a better person, then I highly recommend this one. If you're someone that loves plot twists, then I also highly recommend this one. And if you want to see a black boy in a college setting that's a magical school, then I definitely recommend this book. Okay, the next book that I have is called Bad Influence, and this one is like highly recommended. I did a lot of deep diving for this book, but I saw this on a few videos, and a lot of people say it's very mysterious and it's very like, you can't put the book down, like you can't put it down. So it's basically following this family, and their daughter ends up becoming close friends with someone who is a terrible influence. She has her shoplifting, she has her acting out of character, she has her doing things that they've never seen her do before, and they don't know what to do other than tell her to stop being friends with this girl and try to keep her away from this girl, until they find out that she has connections to someone who can deeply influence the husband's job. And the more they find out about this girl and the more they find out about her family, the more unsettling it gets, and it just gets crazy. I heard it gets really crazy. I heard it's a great book. So if you're a mystery girl, you're someone that likes to be on the edge of your seat the entire book, then I highly recommend this book as well. The next book that I have to recommend is Sorland, and this one is following the main character who is pregnant with twins, and she runs away from a very religious, tight-knit group. It's giving cult. I'm not gonna hold you, it's giving cult, but she runs away. She escapes from them, child. She goes into the woods, and she has the babies out there, and she like, you know what, this is my humble abode, you know what I'm saying, like, I'm just gonna stay out here. I don't really have to go back over there. But lo and behold, she has to confront her past. So now she's living in the woods with her twins. It just gets really haunting, and she cannot run from her past. Like, it's coming for her. And I don't know, I trust River Solomon, and I know that they know how to deliver as far as spooky books are concerned, and again, like I said, generational ties and generational history. So I'm excited to check this book out and see how it goes, and if I hope it has a cult in it because I love culty books, so we'll see how this one goes. Okay, the next book that I have to recommend is Creatures of Passage, and this one is following a main character who was a twin, and recently her twin brother passed away. I think he drowned in a river or something like that, and she is someone who is a taxi driver, but her taxi is haunted. So if you're looking for something that's not a haunted house but a haunted taxi, then this is different and this is for you. So she's basically trying to deal with the grief of losing her twin, and she ends up coming into contact with her nephew, who is her twin brother's son, and he's saying that he's been in contact with the river man, which is essentially her twin brother. So it just gets very creepy, very spooky, and a lot of things are going to be revealed as far as her brother's passing, and it just seems like it's going to be a good book. I love books that have siblings in it, and I've never read a book that had a haunted taxi, so I just think this is going to be different and something that you definitely should check out. Okay, the next book that I have to recommend is Behind the Scenes, and every single time I was looking up great books to recommend you guys, this book kept popping up as a fall romance recommendation, and nothing in the synopsis gives fall. The cover kind of does, because it has like that warm autumn vibe, and I do have this on my TBR. I have for a while. She a little thick though. She a little thick, and I'm not big on thick romance books, but I've heard great things about this one. It follows the main character who is a bougie black girl, and I love bougie black girls in romance. Like, hey, you gonna get me every time. So she's from a prestigious family. She ends up getting to know this guy who is like orphaned, and they have similar issues as far as expectations people have for them, and they connect in a way. And that's all I know about it. I don't want to know too much about it, but I've heard really great things, and everyone says this is a perfect fall romance book. If you're someone that loves fall romances between two characters that come from different walks of life but connect in a very specific way, then this one is for you. The next book that I have to recommend is something that has a very long title, but I'm gonna just call it Demon Boyfriend, and it puts me in the mind of like Kimberly Lemming with her ridiculously long titles that are just like so funny. But this one is basically following the main character who is sick and tired of being single. All of her friends is booed up, and she's just like, you know what I'm gonna do? How I'm gonna fix that? I'm gonna pick up a book and I'm gonna read. So she picks up a book and she starts reading, and she just plays a little joke where she kind of like summons the main character in the book who's like a demon. He's kind of like her, essentially her book boyfriend, and the spell actually works. So now she is bound to this man, and he is physically in her life, and she's trying to figure out how to get rid of him and how to live a normal life again. So basically that is what this book is following. I think that is just so funny. I love accidental spells as a plot in a book, so I love the cover. I keep saying it on TikTok, so I just had to put it on this recommendation list, child. It's on Kindle. I think it's like 315 pages, so it's not too long, but it seems interesting. It seems like it's going to be a fun time. So if you're looking for something that's fantasy romance that has that trope where it's just like someone's put in a different world and they don't understand the world, then you definitely should check this one out, because I feel like it's just going to give all those vibes, and it's going to be fun. So if you want something fun, then definitely check this one out. Okay, now I have all of my honorable mentions. So I have 2 anthologies, and I have a whole series to recommend. So it's gonna end up like 25 recommendations. So the first group of books that I have to recommend are all of Mimi Grace's books. Like, I don't give a damn which book you read. The first one has like a fair scene. The second one quite literally is fall on a book cover, and the third one is set in a forest with like hiking and a very tight-knit found family. So all of her books are short, all of her books are fun, all of them have great covers. They definitely put me in the mind of fall. So if you're someone that's not really into spooky books and you prefer fall romances, then I highly recommend these books. If I had to pick one to read out of the 3 of these books, then I would say read What a Match, because that is the perfect fall romance book. Just look at the cover. Like, I don't have to say much, just look at the cover. It has 2 main characters that are very different from each other, and they are forced proximity. So if those are your hit words, definitely check that one out. The next book that I have to recommend is The White Guy Dies First, and this is another Black author anthology book. So if you don't know what flavor of fall books you want to read or fall horror books you want to read, just get them all. Get a whole bunch of short stories. But I'm not sure if all of these short stories are written by Black authors. That's why I put it in my honorable mentions. But A majority of them are written by Black authors, so definitely check this one out as well. And the third little book that I have to recommend is called Study Break, and this one is like an anthology of short stories of students' first day at school. So if you're looking for something that's in a fall setting, but it's fall in like normal school, like not dark academia and very much college, very much I'm going back to school vibes, because going back to school is also a fall thing. So I just wanted to cover all the bases. Then I highly recommend Study Break, and it's another anthology, so it has a whole bunch of short stories, a whole bunch of like first day experiences. So if you just want something cute, something short, something college setting, then I recommend this one as well. So those are all of the books that I have to recommend you guys. Let me know in the comment section below if you've read any of these books. If you have any books by Black authors to recommend for the fall that I did not put in this recommendation video, then please leave them in the comment section below. I would love to add them to my lists. Check out my TikTok because I have a lot of short form fall recommendation books over there. So if you don't want to see me yap, then you just want to see the books, then head over to my TikTok because I'll be doing more recommendations over there. But I hope you guys got some new favorite books to read from this list. Let me know in the comment section below what your first fall book is going to be for this season. I've already read 2. I'm starting my 3rd and 4th one, and I'm just having a great time. And I hope everyone's enjoying their fall season. I hope everyone's getting ready for the crunchy leaves and the apple crisps and the pumpkin spice and the hot cocoa and just the vibes, okay? My favorite vibes. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, please leave this emoji right here in the comment section below so that I know you made it to the end. And a special thank you to all my patrons. Thank you guys for your support. Don't forget to check out the bingo card and follow along for our prompts, and I will see you guys in the next video. Always remember, read a book, keep your life interesting, and I will see you next time. Okay, happy fall season. Bye.